With so many Eurovision entries over the years, it's natural that some of them have flown under the radar. I'd like to shed a light on some of those entries. Let me first clarify what I mean by underrated. Underrated is not the same as robbed. Some of these entries were robbed, but that's not the point. It's also not underestimated entries, i.e., those that the fandom thought would do poorly, but then actually did really well, like Asta Mata or Berman Limey this year. Underrated has less to do with actual results and more to do with lasting impact in the fandom. Hence, Fulen and Ulveham are not eligible for this video because they get plenty of love from fans. Understand? Good, let's go. First off, we're going down under to take a look at Not the Same.
Not the same, no, I'm not the same, no.
This is a very personal and autobiographical song to Sheldon Riley that covers many of his struggles growing up, including coming to terms with his sexuality, living in public housing, and having a deeply religious family. But the theme that feels most resonant to me is his experience with autism. Not the same touches on the profound sense of shame and loneliness that comes with the knowledge that you live in a world that, on a fundamental level, is not made for you. That knowledge, let alone ableist abuse, can really break a person. Refer to that one quote about autistic trauma. Even so, it makes sure to instill some hope by the end, by encouraging to find community and to shape society to be more accommodating. As far as I'm aware, Not the Same is the first ever Eurovision entry to be explicitly about the neurodivergent experience, which I believe is something it deserves more credit for. It's really raw that it got a single digit televote, and I believe that one possible contributing factor was really unfortunate. For most of the song, Sheldon's face is covered with a mask that he eventually dramatically removes just before the final few lines. People just didn't get it and only had a harder time connecting with him, and that's really sad because it was a very authentic and artistic expression from his side. Not only because it's just kind of part of Sheldon Riley's artistic identity to dress like a Disney villain, but also because it was a nod to the concept of autistic masking. In this moment, he literally unmasks, shedding the performance of neurotypicality and revealing his authentic self. It was a powerful moment whose full nuance may have flown over people's heads, but at least it landed for the neurodivergent people watching. And hell, the melody is haunting and the vocals are powerful, too. Next up, Telemóveis. A first glance at the lyrics might suggest that this is a phone/social media bad message, and I won't stop you if that's what you take away from it, but I believe the theme, as explained by Conan Osiris himself, is more interesting. The song is about the desire to speak to loved ones who've passed away. Closure is a funny thing. It's something we will crave in the face of grief, and maybe we place too much weight on it when we don't get it. A lyric like, I want to live and break the cell phone to pieces may not actually mean I want to touch grass, but rather, I want to let go of grief and move on with my life. That's such a succinct way of expressing a very relatable sentiment. This is probably the most experimental song we'll talk about today on a musical level. The instrumentation is very compelling. It also builds a very unique visual identity and atmosphere with the use of reds and greens and the satin outfits. Additionally, this song has 3 dance breaks. That's kind of funny to think about because the term dance break conjures up images of a very specific kind of song that is very far from Telemovish ballpark. That being said, the dance breaks aren't a poor fit at all, they work really well. All in all, a very common W from Portugal. Speaking of dancing, Oliver Danson is up next. Let me just get my one nitpick out of the way. This was severely under choreographed. Wouldn't you want a song named The Dance of the Elves to have, I don't know, dancing? Turns out it might not be what you get. Christine Gudbranson has 5 women with her on stage and they just stand there, maybe walk a few steps every so often. I'm not asking for crazy moves or anything, just something slow, methodical, and hypnotic that still registers as dancing. Anyway, wasn't this entry supposed to be good or something? Oh yeah, it absolutely is. It plays on the folklore motif of fey creatures trying to entice you into doing something that unwittingly makes you submit to their power. In this case, a dance. Christine and her non-dancers certainly looked the part. The vocals and melody are both hauntingly beautiful, and the song as a whole captures Scandinavian folk music really well. Kind of sad that this was the one and only time any Nordic country threw their hat into the ethno boom of the 2000s, but hell, if we only gotta have one, might as well be something as good as Alvedansen. Now, let's go back to the year 2000, and here's quite a proposition. What if I told you that once upon a time, Sweden got political? Inconceivable, right? The Sweden we all know hates to rock the boat or alienate anyone, so this exception is quite refreshing. I am talking, of course, about When Spirits Are Calling My Name.
Let me be the maiden sun with freedom in my heart. Life will never be the same when spirits are calling my name.
This is a pan-indigenous tribute to resistance against colonization performed by Roger Pontare, a Sami artist who previously represented Sweden in 1994. With him on stage are fellow Sami Johan Salia Jr., Enoch Kasaluk, and Cree Ken Roulette. The idea for the song was born when the songwriters watched a documentary on Geronimo, and to my knowledge, the only other Eurovision adjacent song to have been inspired by a documentary on someone's life is Cicciolina. That's some great company, but then again, that might set up some seriously high standards that are hard to live up to. You be the judge. When Spirits Are Calling My Name is, sadly, quite possibly the most misunderstood Swedish entry of all time, at least domestically, due to it being co-opted by some people on the far right. Because if you didn't know, if there's one thing racists love almost as much as LARPing as Crusaders or posting AI slop, it's LARPing as indigenous, while also erasing the existence of actual indigenous peoples for being inconvenient for their worldview. Roger Ponza has obviously disavowed any bigoted readings of the song. The silver lining is that the appropriation is mostly limited to the Swedish version because the types of people who pull this crap will strongly prefer to use Swedish whenever possible. Thus, the English version isn't really tainted, so to speak. Some part of me wonders if this wouldn't have happened if the Melfest version was in a Sami language rather than in Swedish, but Melfest rules at the time simply wouldn't have allowed that, unfortunately. When Spirits Are Calling My Name deserves to be remembered as the celebration of indigenous peoples it was conceived as. This is my platonic ideal of a host entry. You don't have to worry about qualifying, so why not send something you otherwise might not have? It's not the most musically experimental song in the world, but that's not where its strength lies. It lies in the lyrics, the message, Johan Salagunius joy, and Kasaluk and Ken Roulette's dancing. Best Swedish host entry, and it's not even close. From the oldest entry on the list to the most recent, let's wrap up with some of Mrs. Baba. This song explores the kind of numb helplessness we all feel sometimes when confronted with the state of the world, and the way you might want to ignore it, run away from it, sleep your problems away, if you will. Interestingly, Luke Black wasn't the only one in 2023, or even in a semi, to express this kind of sentiment, as Southern Lights touched on very similar themes in Aya. The main difference is that some of Mrs. Baba points out how this can be a maladaptive response. Now, I don't want to pit two bad bitches against each other. I don't think Aya's messaging is inferior or harmful, and as a piece of music, it's certainly more original. The reason it's not on this list is because it to this day has a dedicated fanbase, and as such, I cannot in good faith say that it's eligible for a video like this. Tangents aside, Luke Black drew on his experiences during lockdown for some of Mrs. Baba, in particular how he would use anime and video games as escapism. As such, it's part of the admittedly small pool of COVID entries, and is by far the strongest of the three. The lyrics and Luke Black's delivery of them have this detached, dissociative energy that fits the themes really well, and the more intense growl vocals are also superb. The is iconic, and the staging was genuinely innovative, though it's been somewhat forgotten because it doesn't look quite as impressive in a post-Doomsday Blue world. It's understandable, but unfortunate. Do you agree with my picks? Are there underrated entries I missed? Leave a comment, or don't, I'm not your mom. Before I let you go, I'll share some of my plans for the channel going forward. On Eurovision New Year's, I'm dropping a video with predictions for 2026 season. Shortly after the artists from Melfest are revealed, I'll talk a little about those picks, from the angle of asking whether Bala Bala Bastu was an anomaly akin to Dim Tim Tagidim or Doomsday Blue, or if we can expect Sweden to step out of its comfort zone more going forward. And for around Easter time, I have a set of 2 videos coming out. They'll be about a topic I'm very passionate about, and because of that, I'll keep it secret for the time being. And in addition, in the event that something happens during the season that gives me enough to yap about, I'll make a video about it. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in a future video.